kick this off. First, of course, welcome to tonight's Innovators Toolkit workshop presented by Jameer Pond, who I will have the pleasure of introducing in a moment. Tonight, we're going to be talking about exploring non-traditional entrepreneurship. But for those who do not know, the Innovators Toolkit workshop series is a series dedicated to providing folks with fundamental skills for innovation in entrepreneurship. This is just one of many within the series. So to stay posted to what other opportunities we have part of the series, please check out our website at city.yale.edu. Before jumping into tonight's topic, I want to first take a moment to acknowledge the land in which we stand. We at Yale University acknowledge that Indigenous peoples and nations, including Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Pagussit, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac and other Algonquin-speaking peoples have stewarded through generations the lands and waterways of what is now the state of Connecticut. We honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these peoples and nations and this land. So before introducing Jameer, I just want to mention a few housekeeping items. So tonight he's going to be schooling us on non-traditional entrepreneurship, especially within the age of digital media. But I'm going to ask that as he's doing that, please keep yourselves muted. There will be various opportunities for you to engage and ask questions throughout this presentation, but we want to reduce as much background noise as possible. So please stay muted until the appropriate time. At that time, I'm going to ask that you use the raise your hand function. This will allow us to limit how many people are speaking over one another. When the time comes, just raise your hand. Either myself or Ellen will call on you and you can pose your question or engage depending on where we are in the presentation. If you want to ask questions non-verbally, you can go ahead and post those in the chat box. It is enabled and Ellen and I will be combing through fielding some of those questions. Also, you can use the chat box to engage with one another there as well. Last but certainly not least, a survey will be sent at the end of this workshop. Please take a minute of your time to complete that. That is where we go to inform our decisions for future programs and making sure that we're providing you the content that you want to see and learn from. So take a moment at the end of this to complete that survey. And without further ado, so background story really quickly. I first became familiar with Jameer Pond by watching his commentary on The Grapevine TV, which is a YouTube show that explores topics of today and offers a fresh, innovative take on panel-style discussions. Jameer's perspectives, intellect, and professional accomplishments made it clear that he was a perfect person for today's workshop. Don't blush. And so I'm super excited that he is virtually here with us today. At the tender age of 14, a young Jameer Pond knew he was destined for greatness. Early on, Jameer recognized his superpower for entertainment, media, and comedy, thus catapulting full force into what would become his successful career as a host and digital media maven. The Lincoln University alumnus has given new meaning to digital storyteller. With his witty commentary and silly, intellectual, passionate, and vulnerable attributes, Jameer has been featured on notable platforms such as NBC, MTV Stars, BuzzFeed, Genius, and Hulu. In 2019, he was tapped to be a co-host alongside Gia Peppers and Mark Lamont Hill on BET's Black Coffee, a morning talk show that covers Black Twitter's hottest topics. In 2020, Pond received a Shorty Award, which honors the best content creators and producers on social media for a digital campaign he'd done with Chase and the New York Knicks. He was also named one of Afrotech's 10 Black men who found success through digital platforms. As Jameer continues to grow as a media maven, he's never forgotten the root of his purpose. Success isn't determined by how much money I make, but rather how many people I help along the way. Jameer, the floor is yours.
Wow, that makes me sound really professional. I just want to say that first of all, I can't believe that's me, honestly. It's a pleasure to be here. Digitally, of course, we're not face to face and I can't see you all as clearly as I want to, but I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight. for this workshop. This workshop is going to be a little different. So we are going to talk about a lot of new entrepreneurship, which is creator and digital and web and internet. People are making careers, people are making lives out of creating digital content. And that's the wave of the future. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, but as well, it's a two-parter. We'll be talking about how to be a self-servant digital entrepreneur. So what are some of the steps that we need to take to make sure our inner entrepreneur is ready for what's about to happen in this new digital landscape? So please take the ride with me, all. This is going to be very interactive. So the people that I see, hopefully you'll interact with me. If you don't want to, please feel free just to hold the thumbs down or anything. Oh, my cousin is here. My cousin just graduated from Yale Law. I just want to throw that out there. Samantha, so proud of you. Thanks for showing up. I'm going to call on you, by the way. So it's just family. That's what it is. Oh, yes, it is wholesome. This is what you are eating right now. It's all right. Stay ready so you don't get ready. All right. I want to start this off by introducing myself, but I want to do it two ways because I want to do it the way that Jameer, who would shrink in opportunities in rooms like this, and would dim his entrepreneurial light, would introduce himself. And I want to introduce you a little more in depth of who I am and how I became who I am today. So let's do that. We're gonna share our screen. Please bear with me, everybody, because technology, okay? I know a lot of people have issues with this. Okay, here we go. Let's share this. Okay. All right. Boom. All right. So this is my little presentation right here, everybody. How to find your own voice in the midst of chaos. Super important that we discuss that. I wanted to discuss this primarily because during COVID and this whole time of being absent and drawn from the world, I found myself, I found my voice. And I have been in digital spaces and on TV for about 10 years now with different shows, and I work with different companies. But it wasn't until 2019 and 2020 when I started journeying my quest to my own voice. What was going to set me apart and what was going to create a business for me. And this is a little bit of the journey. So please take the journey with me. All right. Okay. So a little bit about me, right? I'm a media personality, digital director and producer, an award winner, and a motivational speaker. And while that sounds very vague and non-descriptive, this is how I would approach business meetings. I would shrink myself even before I came in the room, mainly because I had no self-confidence. The reason why I was so successful is because I was always looking out for handouts from different kind of companies. Oh, BET is looking for a personality. Oh, MTV is looking for something. Whatever the brand was and it fit in my scope, I would go after it. But I realized I had no foundation or no fan base extended off of who I was. I wasn't the nucleus to my success. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But when it comes to the digital space, you have, the elevator pitch is probably like 30 seconds. You have less than that because everybody's attention is everywhere else. So out the gate, what we say in digital, when we produce video, the first 5 seconds are the most important things. It needs to hit. So if I'm telling you I'm a media personality, I'm a digital director, that's all, you've already lost that attention. So in the media creative space, you need to be intentional, quick, and precise. So boom. Okay, this is the intentional me. It's a little different. It's me. Okay, I'm a digital storyteller. Boom, right off the bat. I'm telling you that I'm a digital storyteller. Already your mind is like, well, I don't even know what that is. Please intrigue me a little more about telling me. So I'm a digital storyteller with over 10 years of experience of on-cam producing and directing experience. I'm intentional. I'm telling you, this is who I am. In 2020, I won a Shorty Award for starring in a Chase campaign about authentic New Yorkers. True. Again, I'm being descriptive. I'm being intentional. I don't have to tell you the rest, but you get the picture. This is what separated me from getting passed over for work. And it was the difference between that and me gaining work, but also creating my own work. Because now that I'm intentional about my purpose and about my brand and about what I want to build, I'm able to speak confidently, to speak direct, not to shy away or diminish my abilities or what I've accomplished because I was shy, because I didn't want to, be the person who was moving around furniture in terms of who they were and presenting themselves. I didn't advocate for myself. And I noticed that started with the words and how I described and how I would say and how I would write and how I would act. My whole career has been 20% of my actual power. Think about that. My whole career, I won Shorty Awards. I was on BET's first talk show ever. I've done some pretty amazing things. I got kicked off the stage by Travis Scott. Some of you might know not who Travis Scott is, but he's like I don't know. The kids think of him like the Beatles. That's all I'll say. So just the magnification of that. I have a lot of stories to tell, but I shied away from my experiences and my talent and my skill sets because I didn't have the self-confidence enough to be a leader. So let's talk about that for a minute. I want to go into our first activity. Who will I call to help me? Maybe Samantha randomly. That's not my cousin.
Wow, so random. Was not prepared for this.
What? What's going on?
So
how are you?
I'm good. It's been a long day. So
it has been a long day. How am I doing so far?
Cool. Doing amazing. I'm excited.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Here we go. All right, we're good. That was an internal talk. All right, we're good. Okay, people. Right. So Samantha, I've known you all your life, but in this, I want to say last like 2 years, I've noticed your entrepreneurial spirit build, and you creating different streams of income, as well as putting things in your passion in the forefront. And I love that about you because you don't shy away from who you are. And I want to do a quick exercise about finding our internal blueprint. Will you do that with me?
Yes, I will.
Okay, all right.
How I do, but I'll try.
We'll see how you do. Okay, so quick, just, blurb about yourself. What do you do and what do you want to do?
Wow. Well,
on the spot.
Here we go. Mm-hmm. Currently in my life, I am building an empire based on mindfulness. So I am currently, about to become an attorney. I'm taking the bar and I'll be moving to London. So I'm also starting a legal career, but my general purpose is to live in mindfulness. So I am a yoga teacher. I also am a meditation guide. And I also want to be a movement lawyer. And much of that is grounded in mindfulness as well, and creating mindful communities, mindful spaces for people to thrive. And that's the first stab at it that I'm going to try, because I do like too many things. So I'm trying to, I think you got me at the right place for your
I got you at the perfect
I was not prepared for this, but I actually am trying to figure out how to frame all of the things that I do and put them in a palatable way for people to understand. Like, why do you do all these things?
Well, perfect. And I think this is the right exercise for you. So I want to try something called finding your internal blueprint. All right. So I want you to close your eyes. Okay. Close your eyes. Yeah. I come with activities, y'all.
You are just like your mother.
I know. Don't tell anybody. They don't know her. She's crazy. All right. So close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath, much like meditation. Find that space. Try to take a deep breath. Inhale, exhale. Okay. Inhale one more time.
Okay.
Exhale. Okay. Now I want you to put yourself in a place that only you know. I want you to go where your dreams, where your passions, where your empire lies. I want you to, not out loud, I want you to just start identifying what's around. What do you see? Even down to the colors, the shapes, the different things. I want you to focus on your goals. I want you to focus on those dreams. I want you to focus on that light that keeps you moving. And now I want you to focus down on the thing that you want to do. Because that's often the things that drive us. We can have money and cars and all kinds of things, but there's that internal light. There's that purpose. There's the root of all our success, our entrepreneurial spirit. All of that is there. But through society and work and jobs and just different streams, we kind of get reared off that moment, that thing that keeps us going. So Samantha, I want you to continue identifying what that looks like, down to the people who are around you, the feelings that you have. Be as specific and direct as possible. Okay, now I want you to give me one more inhale and one more exhale. Okay, now I want you to open your eyes. Okay. Paint for me that picture of your internal blueprint that you saw for yourself.
Okay, so I was near the water. So a lot of the colors and the shapes involved like ocean waves, a lot of blue, fluidity, waves, water droplets. And the people around me were people that I know, so family members and people who I don't necessarily know, but who I have connection with. So I was envisioning people who were activists, community organizers, and at the same time, what I was doing was bringing people together and really just creating and holding space for folks within that internal world. And at the same time, helping to break down barriers to that space.
Mm.
So very visual.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Now, I just wanted to compare and contrast what I asked you, what you did and what you want to do prior, before, and now. And that sometimes is the difference between a successful business and a non-successful business. How specific you were down to the droplets is how specific you need to be when you control your space, your time, your creative energy, how you need to move with your business. That's how specific you need to be. And you already came out the gate specific. I was like, oh, I hope this works on my cousin. And luckily, luckily it did, because again, we know what our internal blueprint is, down to the people that we want around us to help foster those dreams, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we're all over the place with this noise and trying to salvage relationships and trying to jump from one job to, we don't do what's easiest to us. And let's go back and let's find that internal blueprint. So I just wanted to give her a round of applause. Just put, I don't know, put some emojis in the chat if you're not on camera. Sam, you were great. Thank you so much.
I was not prepared for that. So
I know.
This was helpful. This was very helpful.
Hey,
and I know this is your talk, but I want to say this is really helpful for like everybody, because I just had a conversation with my friend who was saying she felt like she was doing too many things and didn't know how to like bring it all together. So I think this is an amazing exercise. I'm going to tell her to watch the recording. So.
Oh, yes. Please let her know. Yes, absolutely. We all have that though. We all have that blueprint, and we all know deep, deep, deep down inside what it is, what it looks like, what it feels like. But it's so deep inside of us that once it starts to come up into our mind and somebody asks us, oh, how's that business plan going? That passion is met with roadblocks, society, mental hardships, trauma, and just insecurity. So when it comes out, it's like, you know, I want to do this business and I have a restaurant, but it's stupid. It's probably dumb. We've ruined our own manifestations before it was even born, before we could take that first step. This conversation will be taking those steps in order for us to succeed in this creative space of entrepreneurship. So, that was good. Good first exercise, Sam. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Remember I said prior that you are the nucleus to your success. This is something that I had to realize. Again, explaining to you all, I was a hard worker, and I had so much pride in working hard, in going in early and coming out late, and being there until nobody else could stand, and they would leave me in the office, and I would feel so proud of the blood, sweat, and tears I was doing and giving for this job. All jobs that I've had in my career, actually. Until I realized that people were making literally millions off of my ideas, commentary, or digital creations. And I was left depleted, asking for raises. It's not a good feeling when you're depleted or you feel like you're defeated. All things I felt like, because I had given so much to the culture of entertainment that I didn't have anything for myself until I was down and out and emotionally finished. I mean, to paint the picture for you, I had a billboard in Times Square and somebody called me and let me know that. And before they called, I was under my covers crying because I was so depressed. I had a show and I was depressed. I was like, something is missing. I'm missing something. And the something that I was missing was me. I promise you, I would pitch ideas to these companies and they would run with it and do well. And nothing in my mind told me, if these companies are making money off of your ideas, why don't you preserve some of them for yourself? I never did that. I never knew how to do that. I never knew what it took to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of it is self-confidence. A lot of it is having a rooted foundation in you. Because through you, your transparency and your brand identification, the people will come. The brands will come. How good is your product? It's the best. Why? Because it's yours. It's nobody else's. Forget about the rat race. You are the nucleus to your success. I feel like a person specifically found this in the last 3 years. And some of you might actually know him because he's pretty famous. Here comes the slideshow swap. Boom. Wait. There we go. All right. It's Will Smith. He fell in. I'll be honest, y'all. I haven't done a PowerPoint presentation in so long. So hope that transition brought you back to 1995. Yes, Will Smith. What do we know about Will Smith? We know Will Smith is a mega superstar, right? Like, since I was born, Will Smith was a thing. He was a rapper, an actor. He's I think Oscar nominated. He won Grammys. I mean, Will Smith is Will Smith. If you don't know Will Smith, do your Googles. That's all I say. Do your Googles. But in the last 3 years, specifically because his movies have been a little shaky, I'll be honest with you. Not my favorite Bad Boys for Life. But he's introduced himself to an entirely new audience. And that's the audience of social media. What Will Smith did was he met his audience where they were. First of all, in the 90s, I feel old when I say that, but back in my day, in the 90s, the stars, you only found out about their business in tabloids. So there was this mystery when it came to being in Hollywood. Now that the whole country is pretty much a reality show, everybody is on social media. And Will Smith was one of the few stars who was still maintaining that mystique and brand integrity. And what a difference 3 years makes, because now entanglement is a thing because of Will Smith, but it was the best thing that he could do for his career. And that's the pivot. And he made a pivot, and he placed himself in the front as the foundation of his brand. Before, it was the movies, the accolades, it was Independence Day, it was all these things. And there was a curtain in front of Will Smith as a person. So we only were able to get what we knew every time he would do like a press junket. But now we know Will Smith and his family intimately. And honestly, he's changed the scope of what social media is. Almost 140 million followers on all his social media platforms. Will Smith has restarted his career, and he did a thing that we can all learn from, which is, again, put yourself as the nucleus to your success. And there's 4 pillars that really emphasize this. How do you make this change from being a brand that might not be seen or heard, or so popular that there's this mystique up and your fans or your audience can't reach and touch you? There's something that everybody has done to create their success. And that's the 4 pillars of entrepreneurial introspection. 1, all right? So 1 is extending grace to oneself. 2 is acknowledging who is in your overall circle. The people who feed you, the people who push you, the people who ensure that your dreams or your passions or your business are going to stay afloat. And they don't have to all be your friends, but there's strong links in your circle. Number 3 is cultivating self-confidence. Now, this comes from a number of things. And I know sometimes we, well, Jameer, I might not be as confident as you. Yes, I understand. I'm not even as confident as you might think I am. I'm shaking right now. All right. My legs are shaking. The goosebumps are on my arms, but I'm aligned. This is my purpose. This is why I want to do this, to get these messages to y'all. So there is a certain amount of self-confidence that you need to cultivate to be a creative entrepreneur. And the last and most important thing is releasing fear. Fear is the roadblock of all roadblocks. Fear, we might see fear as a big mountain of our dreams in between. And we don't even, no, it's okay. I'll do something else before we even figure out how to navigate that. So before we even create something, before we even write a business plan, allow me to take you through the 4 pillars of entrepreneurial introspection. All right, let me get a sip of water. Also, I wanted to make this PowerPoint really, really, really like exuberant and vibrant. So I hope that's the vibe that's coming out. All right. I spent so much time looking on Getty for like geometric shapes and spaces. So enjoy. I hope you're enjoying this. But the first pillar is extending grace to oneself. Why is this necessary? It's necessary because when we think about starting businesses or we think about building brands, especially ones on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or all these wonderful social media platforms that we're addicted to, we need to extend grace to oneself. That's important because we might see a lane for others and throw ourselves in there. It's natural. It's part of our DNA to look over on somebody else's paper if we're feeling insecure about our own answers, right? We've been doing it since we were kids. But the point is to extend grace to oneself because you don't have it all yet. You're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. And that's okay. It's a part of the building blocks of a strong foundation for your business, for your creative drive, and for your life in general. So we don't rush the creative process. That's the first pillar. Don't rush the creative process. I'll be very transparent with you all. Being a creator in COVID sucks. I'll say it again, and I mean it. Being a creator in COVID sucks. Half the time, I don't feel like doing lighthearted videos. Half the time, I can't stomach the fact to give someone advice if I'm not taking it myself because I'm in such a deep, dark place. Half the time I don't want to get out of bed, let alone create. So instead of forcing that and forcing myself, I'm giving myself grace. Instead of doing that, I'm planning. It's something I never did before. I never used to storyboard my content. I never used to properly script my content or edge out my content or write my content down. It was all off the top and from the heart. But I never sat down to plan. And for the first time, when I wasn't able to stand on a platform and speak, because again, COVID said, hey, everything is off the table. So all my passive income has gone from other brands because of COVID. So when nobody was calling and I was in my room trying to figure out what I was going to do, I wrote. All the sporadic creative ideas I had, I jotted them down. I didn't think that any idea was too beneath me to write down. And sometimes, again, that internal us knows the answer to what we want to do. You know the piece of content that you want to create. You know the business that you want to start. But once it gets right about here, those insecurities start coming out and it's, nah, this is stupid. Instead of figuring out a way to work around it, build it, manifest it. So don't rush your creative process. Number 2 is setting goals according to what you can do. Again, you're not gonna be net positive 1,000% your first business. You know, if you put up a link, everybody might not come and support your t-shirt business. Why? Because 1, it might not be fire, I'll be honest with you. And 2, other people have other things that they're doing. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Keep that in mind when you're setting your goals. I would never tell anybody to make realistic goals because I don't think dreams are realistic. I think when it comes to starting businesses and leaping out of your own, there's nothing that's realistic. Everything is a risk, but the bigger the risk, the reward. So when we're setting goals, make sure that we're setting goals according to what we can do as entrepreneurs, or what we can do as content creators, or what we can do in life in general. If you don't feel like taking a shower, damn it, don't take a shower. We on Zoom all day, all right? Some of you don't have pants on, and it's a global pandemic, okay? Treat your mind and your goals and your spirit like that. Understand the circumstances that you're in. And the last thing is realizing that mental fatigue is real. Like I was saying, I've been depleted creatively for like 4 months. I've given everything. I've been processing what's going on and it's draining. Sometimes I don't want to create, but I have to give myself that grace. Mental fatigue is real. You'll never run out of ideas, but sometimes you will feel like this doesn't matter. Let me sit in what's going on and observe and think and plan and rest. Rest your body and your mind and replenish it. Being an entrepreneur and a creative is no sprint. And I treated it like a sprint for so many years, trying to run to the next thing, trying to do everything at one time. Like my cousin was saying, doing everything at once. At some point, you burn out. I'd rather burn out now and address it and build from that than wait until the universe has granted me the most opportune moment to be like, I'm tired. I can't do any of this. So remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. Shout out to Nipsey Hussle. All right, I got an activity. All right, so I can't see many people, but I don't want to use my cousin again because that would be not fair. I don't know who's in here. I don't know who would want to volunteer as tribune. This is just more of talking about introspection a little bit. How are we extending grace to ourselves? So if there's a creative out there or somebody who has a business, an unorthodox business or a standard business, or somebody who's planning and moving in that direction, what ways are you giving yourself grace in this time where mental fatigue is real and a lot of us are on E? So I don't know who would want to share with me. So I can't see anybody really, but
I got you.
Okay. Just, try to be my audience coordinator. Please.
I don't, does anybody want to participate in this activity? I'm not seeing any hands yet.
So you want to do it? Come on.
I can do it.
Let's go. All right. So real easy, just give me 3 ways that you are extending yourself grace. I know you're a busy woman, and especially in the midst of all these Zoom interviews and Zoom fatigue, because that's real as well. What are some things that you're doing just to take some time off, clear your head, get a mental restart, an emotional restart to go back in and chase those dreams?
Yeah, so I love this activity because I'm big on mindfulness and entrepreneurial wellness. So this is right up my alley.
Here we go. We connecting the dots. I love it.
For me, so first thing I do is prioritize me time, especially in this virtual space. Now that I don't have commute times, I dedicate my first morning hour to doing something for myself. For me, that's looked like working out in the first hour of the morning. It might mean making myself a full breakfast, like the works. But I dedicate time to myself from the start so that as I head into these meetings, as I head into this workload, I'm able to approach it with a clear mind, right? Because I've got my needs taken care of. The next thing I do, which was hard for me, but I have learned to allow myself to make mistakes. I'm very much a perfectionist. Being wrong has rubbed me the wrong way since I was a child. But because I'm the type to always start something new, be it a new creative endeavor, a new job, a new friendships, whatever, I'm not going to know everything. And I had to really rest in that and allow myself to make those mistakes necessary for learning. And then the third one.
These are all great, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm like mentally jotting some stuff down, like take some time for me time, necessary.
I don't know. The third one I'd have to think a little deeper, but I don't want to take up too much.
Okay. No problem. Thank you. Give Zoe a round of applause. Ellen.
I see we actually have a hand up.
Oh, we have a hand. Let's get a yes.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I can't seem to put my video on, which I was trying to do, so I'll just join via voice. But I really liked what Zoe was talking about in terms of taking a break.
Yes.
I recently graduated from the School of Management this past May, and I think graduating, thank you.
Yes, congrats.
So graduating in the midst of the pandemic, sort of what you were talking about, Jameer, has really just been, I'm trying to look at it as like a blessing, right? It really checked what my goals were, and in a way, a lot of them didn't feel as important and relevant. So I think leaning into starting my own business has been, in a way, me kind of extending grace and not jumping to that more traditional job, especially at a time where there's a lot of pressure, and trying to just be in this moment and figure out what that means. So it's felt like that overall in the last couple months. And then I think to Zoe's point of taking me time, the hustle of starting your own business and trying to get work and get your name out there has been a lot, even when it's your calling and you're excited about it. And so a friend of mine recently asked for me to go on a road trip with her. So we did like a 2-week up and down the East Coast and camped at some national parks, which was relevant to the work that I'm doing, which is around building intentional communities, equity-centered design principles. So it's cool to kind of, do a tour, and we visited some intentional communities. But at the same time, it kind of felt like, oh, I'm taking a vacation and I need to be working, and I feel like I'm kind of like all over the place. But I think pushing through that feeling, and also honestly being in conflict with the larger world right now, and I think to have a moment for yourself and enjoy kind of feels in conflict with everything going on. So trying to lean into really finding that time and space and recognizing the importance of it and how that can feed the work that I'm doing.
Kelly, first of all, I want to thank you for your vulnerability. Zoe as well, absolutely. Thank you both. But I think you brought up a super, super important point, which is feeling guilty. Feeling guilty of taking a minute to step back because, you know, I need to be working. I need to be doing this. I don't know, you know, I'm not going to assume, but I'll ask, after you took that little break, I'm sure it was needed, but how much more productive were you after that? This is Kelly, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, definitely an increase in productivity, but even just like more clarity in what I'm doing, you know?
Yes.
And
yeah.
I think that was essential, especially in the beginning stages when the idea is still forming and the world is changing so quickly. If you're trying to do something that's, you know, in community or in spaces that are with people, there's a lot of shifting factors. So it's helpful in just clarifying what I'm doing and what that looks like.
Yes. Again, sometimes we just need that minute to step back and get our internal blueprint together. Sometimes we're so focused in tunnel vision that we miss everything. We miss that moment. So I'm glad you were able to take yourself out of tunnel vision, just become more clear in your vision and your path. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions? No, I can't see, so don't worry. All right, let's move on. All right, who was in your circle? Something that's super important to me, because what I realized a lot of time in my life, I was loyal to the wrong people. I was loyal to a fault. And I realized how much energy was being wasted in self-serving relationships, whether it be myself or the other person. I didn't have the strongest foundation around me. And that in turn, me putting everything on my shoulders and thinking that I was Superman. And I'm sure a lot of us, you know, would rather trust ourselves than other people. And of course, because you're the person who knows your vision and can execute it the best way possible. But I didn't know or realize how many people I was the strongest link for. When you think about a circle, or you think about like a chain or a bracelet, for instance, you cannot be the strongest link. You cannot be the person who knows everything about everything in your circle. And you cannot be the person who only listens and digests what everybody else is talking about, because it clouds who you are, your vision, your spirit. To take on other people's baggage is so draining. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But this year, I specifically started making note of the people who identified as strong links in my life. People who were around me, who were throwing me support the whole time, but because I was loyal to this idea of what a friendship was, or what a relationship was, or what it meant to be family, because I was in love with the idea of what that was, I missed out on so many people who were coming by to help me, rein me over in times of distress. I totally just didn't get it. And I did not have the best circle around me at times. And it's stunning my growth. And now that I'm around people who throw me ideas, who go, hey, Jameer, I understand your vision, but what happened if you approached it like that? Who never said to me that I couldn't do it. Who always had a solution for me when I said I couldn't do it. Those are the people that need to be in your circle. And we're not just talking about friends, business partners, brand strategists, It could be anybody, a coworker, but those people who support you the most and lift you up in your time when you're depleted, those are the people who you need around you. People who want to see you organically and just from the heart, from the soul, succeed in life and be your best self. Now, I want everybody just to take a quick minute. This isn't activity, but and we'll go to activity in a minute. But take a quick minute and think about the people who are in your life. Just reflect to yourself. Think about the people who are in your circle now. Now think about those people who you constantly text, talk to every day, who you share your dreams with, ideas, most inner secrets. Think about those people. Now think about if they are reciprocating everything that you do for them. Think about the people who are self-serving in your life. I know for a fact that I had about maybe 20, and no exaggeration, in my circle, people who only took. People who only drained, never fueled. I was around a lot of energy and people who did not want me to be my best self. And I realized that once I started putting some good people around me who did realize what I wanted to do and would give constructive criticism, who would give advice, who would give inspiration, who would say, Jameer, I don't think that post was appropriate, because that has happened. I'm not ashamed, okay? I make mistakes. But the people in your circle who are looking out for you and your brand, those are the people who you need to keep close to. These other people who are just in your life to take, to mooch, to put on negative energy, you need to trim the fat. Trim the fat in your life and you'll realize how much energy you were given to the wrong things. And that brings me to this, fuel or drain. Who are the people in your life who are fueling, and who are the people in your life that are draining? And it doesn't even have to be people, but things. If we're talking about building a business, how many assets do we have that are fueling us compared to liabilities? We could put money aside for our own blueprint or business idea, but Janine and them did say that they wanted to go to the club during COVID. Why? I don't know. Don't go to the club, by the way. Just sit down, stay home. Anyway, there's going to be assets and then there's going to be liabilities. What assets are fueling your business, fueling your inner blueprint, fueling the light that's within you? And what's draining? The people, the social media, the constant social media. You can use social media as a tool, as a lot of us know. But the over social media, the drinking, the partying, things that are liabilities to our bigger dreams. One thing that I had to cut out was I had to stop going, not just because of COVID, but I had to stop going out and spending money on food because I had it. I was like, I could have created a business last year with all the money I saved up. But I blew on frivolous things because I wanted to, still be out in the streets, still be in amongst my peer group, still being out. You know what out does? Out costs money. Out costs energy that you could spend with yourself. And that's why during this time, along with deep reflection about life and the state of the world in general, I've been saving. I've been creating, I've been letting the inner blueprint come out. I've been manifesting. I've been spending my energy and my time in places that I wasn't comfortable with being. And most of that was with myself. I was afraid to be by myself because I didn't know what would come of it. I was so unsure and not confident that I put myself around dangerous energies None that fueled me to be the best me I could be. And I suffered. And so now that I'm taking back my energy, as Maxine Waters says, I'm reclaiming my time. Now that I'm reclaiming, okay, I'm able to think more. I'm able to strategize more. I'm able to knock out the things that I told myself a while ago I wanted to accomplish. And that's because I started putting people and things around me that fueled me instead of drained me. Whew. You know, so this is the first time that I'm saying some of these things out loud. So like, just know that if I take a minute or I go, whew, that's my inner self patting my real self on the back for being brave enough to be able to talk about some of this stuff. So, whew, yes, let's move on. That was good. Okay.
Before we move on, somebody put a question in the chat. If you have any advice for growing and strengthening your circle in a genuine way during this period when everyone is so isolated from each other.
Absolutely. I don't know who asked that, but great question. Look out for the people in your life who go, I haven't heard from you in months. You didn't call to check up on me. I don't hear from you anymore. Did I do something? Are we on bad terms? Look out for people like that. Because those are the people who are drainers. If you can't understand that we are all in a global pandemic and that these are, and quite frankly, a racial uprising for many of my Black people who are on here, it's double the hard, especially for me. So if you can't understand why I need time for myself, then I need to reevaluate your position in my life. And for the people who might reach out to you, you might not hear from them that often. They might just text once in a blue. But for the people who go, hey man, I'm just checking on you. Just want to make sure you're all right. You might not even know them like that, or know, you might know your friend for 20 years, but this person, you might know him for 2, and not that well. Pay attention to the messages that people are sending you, literally, and also emotionally, spiritually. Pay attention to that, because those people in your life depend on you for something. And even in the midst of a global pandemic, when you might be drained, they still might need you. And they might not even understand what they're doing. They might not understand. So it's your job to coach them, to ask how you want to be treated. Because those are the people in your life that, if you care about them, you want to make sure that they're on the right side and not just draining your energy, your time, and you in general in the midst of chaos. So I hope that answered your question. It's something that I've also been going through. And this is friends and family that I've had to reevaluate during this time, because I'm realizing it doesn't matter who you are. I need to be the best me first. And I'll say that again. I need to be the best me first. And you can call it selfish. You can say, oh, you can't think. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Because I'm the nucleus to everything. My success, my dreams, my ambitions, my health, my business, my career, my family. I'm the nucleus. I'm the link. If I'm not strong, all this falls apart. So excuse me if I'm taking time for myself, but I need to refuel to go outside or go on Zoom the next day and be the best me that I can be. I got to show up for me before I can show up for you. Whoo, that felt good, Yale. Okay, that felt good. Felt good, everybody. I hope that answers your question. Let me know if there's any more questions too. Please just feel free to stop me or raise a hand. I'm looking. Okay, so here's our activity. So I wanted to utilize, because I heard we have breakout rooms, I wanted to utilize a breakout room. So I need 4 people to participate, because I want to do a mock accountability partner pairing. And accountability partners in your life are necessary, but especially for business, they're necessary as well. I have a friend on here, and I'm not sure if he's still on here. His name is Donald Bettis, and we've been friends since the 6th grade. I mean, and dude is brilliant. But I remember him when he didn't know math at all. Like he was worse than I was at math. And he's a financial analyst now, and just started to boom in the real estate business. And as we started to grow, I started to notice that a lot of my strengths weren't where I needed to be as far as passive income or even understanding what money was. I just didn't get it. It's not that I wasn't capable to learn. I saw it as something that was intimidating, and I shied away from it. And this year during quarantine, we began to have a deeper friendship, one that was filled with accountability. So what he did was he gave me information about stocks. He gave me information about real estate that I didn't know. I didn't know the amount of money that I had saved was a down payment for a house. I moved into an apartment. He was like, well, I don't know what to tell you, but you could have had, but I didn't know because I never wanted to know in that regards. And it was a little intimidating for me, a new space. I was so used to being in control of everything in my life that I couldn't relinquish control when I need to learn something. And we sat down and we spoke about real estate and we spoke about money and we spoke about passive income. And he became my accountability partner. And he might not even notice, but he inspired me to learn. He inspired me to want to live in that version of myself, a version of myself that I was scared of. But deep down, I knew I wanted to do. I had said I wanted to own businesses. And now I'm in the process to making that come true. And that has to do with accountability partners. So I want to put 4 people, 2 groups of 2 together. So I need some volunteers. Please feel free to volunteer. Raise their hand. Oh, yes. Is it Dahlia? That's right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. We got Dahlia. We got 1. Need 3 more people. Come on. It's like Price is Right. Come on down, y'all. Come on down. Don't be shy in the back. I at least need another one for Dahlia. That's 2. Okay. All right. Cool. We got Meg and we got Dahlia. Yes. First of all,
someone popped in the chat.
Oh, somebody popped in the chat. Thank you, Sam. Okay, so we got Meg. Hold on,
It's Rita.
Oh, Rita.
And Rita.
And Jojo. So now we have 4.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Does any of you know each other? No?
Nope.
No.
Cool, great.
Just good.
Okay, perfect.
No.
So this is gonna be totally great. This will be totally unbiased. And I can't see. So I'll say Dahlia and Meg, you both are gonna be accountability partners, and I can't see the other 2, but I heard Jojo and
Rita.
Jojo and Rita. You 2 will be accountability partners. Now I don't know how this whole breakout room works, but I want to give both groups at least 5 minutes together where you can figure out what each other wants to do. You both will write that down or, put it in your phone. I don't know if we even have paper anymore. It's pandemic. But you'll jot it down some way, shape, or form. And you'll remember it. Exchange numbers or email. And next week, check on that person. Hey, I'm just popping in, just checking on you. You did say that you wanted to go food shopping by this week. I want to make sure that you did it. Let's start setting small goals of accountability so that we can start building each other. So we'll do it. I mean, and you can carry it for the rest of your life if you want to. I don't know. Your call. But at least try it out until next week. So we're gonna go in a breakout room. You all are gonna learn a little bit about each other, and you're gonna hold each other accountable on one thing that the other person is asking to be held accountable for. All right. So is that clear? That makes sense? Hey, okay. All right. Cool. How do these rooms work? I don't know.
So if I send them to a breakout room, they will no longer be in this session. But I know that if you want them to still be in the session, they can use the private chat to exchange this information.
You know what? Let's private chat it up. Let's private chat it up. You don't even have to go to, I lied about the breakout rooms. I'm sorry. Sorry for lying, everybody. But yes, you guys can go into private chat. Again, one thing, and we'll ask you at the end about what's that one thing that you want to be held accountable. Just make sure you follow up and you keep that person's intention in mind when you reach out. All right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Who am I paired with?
This is Rita.
Rita, you're paired with Jojo.
Jojo. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
Rita. I couldn't see you. No problem. No problem. All right. So we'll give you guys five minutes. Go off, but by the end of everything, we'll come back and you'll present to the class. Wonderful. Feels like school. All right. So I will keep going in the meantime. Thank you all for participating in this little activity. Okay. All right. All right. So our third pillar is cultivating self-confidence. Sorry. Now, this is one of the most important pillars for me because it's something that I didn't have. I consider myself, I call myself a freelance person. Now, some people are like freelance workers. Like, I was very flighty when it came to everything except for me. I've hosted concerts of 5,000 people, but when it came to sitting down and talking about my own business, I would get shy in meetings because I didn't want to hear about myself. I was very insecure about my abilities, even though I had done everything. I was very insecure. So cultivating self-confidence is something that I needed to do. And it started with a number of things. Firstly, started with cotton mouth because I've been talking. All right. It started with me knowing my core audience. The only thing I knew about my core audience was that my core audience was Black and my core audience was women. So Black women between the ages of around 21 to 35. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to identify and pinpoint who they are because now I can keep my content in mind of my core audience. And sometimes we don't do that. Our core audience, we look at our audience as somebody, people who just are faceless and nameless or at signs and, usernames and avatars of anime because they won't post their real picture on social, a number of things. But what I realized was that I was totally ignoring my core audience with the content that I was making. And I was like, something's not clicking. Like, this doesn't feel organic. Once I started learning and doing qualitative and quantitative research about my core audience, I was able to do a better job of speaking and talking and relating to them and learning. Because what did I know about being a 21-year-old Black woman? Nothing. But I was able to have those kind of conversations to learn, to shut up, to observe, to restore a lot of the mistakes that I had made in the past and make up for them. Learning what my audience liked, learning what they didn't like. I needed to know all about the audience that I was not servicing. And once I did, honestly, in about a year, I probably went from 4,000 followers to 10,000. It was a significant jump. It was just an example of a significant jump though. Because I started making content that I knew related to my core audience. And it just so happens that I was passionate about what I was saying. Prior, I wasn't passionate about the conversations that I would have on social media. Maybe it was about music that I no longer cared for, but I forced myself to talk about it. Your audience is smart enough where they know relatability is something that they look for. Being genuine is something that they look for, and being transparent is something that they look for. So if I knew that, why would I be ignoring my audience? It's because I didn't have the self-confidence. What does your audience know about you? It's a big thing. What does your audience know about you? I realized again, I was a freelance personality and also a freelance person. So my audience knew as much as I would give them from social media. Sure, I could post a video or a clip of me on NBC or BET, all these three letters, you know? But what do they really know about me before that, aside from that one point, that one morsel, that one thing that I gave them? I didn't have the self-confidence enough to be transparent with my audience. So they weren't confident enough to put trust in me as a creator. And it affected my business. I noticed what I was getting booked for and what I wanted to get booked for weren't the same things. So I knew I had to pivot. I knew I had to share more. Over this last year and a half, I've been more comfortable with talking about my mental health journey, how I got to the point to even talk to people. And that came from not being happy, from seeing my career blossom. Everything that I fought for 10 years came to fruition. I wrote down March 15th, 2015, you're gonna have your own talk show. On June 1st, 2019, I had my own talk show. I had wrote this down on a sticky note and I kept it by my desk so everybody could see, including myself. I needed to know that I had enough self-confidence and self-worth to make that happen. And I did, but I wasn't happy. When we ask for things, we need to be specific. So I wanted to share that message with my core audience. And the reason I'm able to do it is because I know there's a lot of people who can relate. There's a lot of people who don't want to be transparent. But if we look at brands, especially in 2020, like the example I gave you, Will Smith, brand transparency is what's driving people to that creator, to that brand. And honestly, when you're transparent and it comes from a good place, that's what you want. I want to be the face of my own brand. So I need to let the audience in and let them know who I am beyond the work that I do, beyond the speeches that I might give, beyond the businesses that I might start. Who is Jameer Pond and why do we want to invest our time, our energy? This is the most lucrative thing we have. If you invest your time in a business, forget about money for a minute. You invest your time in a business. That's a commitment because you're expecting a service. Yes, I've taken the time to assess that I want to pay you for your services. What am I getting in return? All this is a business. So if I can't be dependable and trustworthy as a brand or be transparent as a brand, what do you have to look forward to? If you don't know my opinions on core issues that you might align with, why would you support me? I'm not making burgers. I don't have to just shut up and make burgers. I speak for a living. So if I can't be transparent or I can't be functional to the point where I can identify with you or you can identify with me and we're miles away, why are you going to invest in me? And that brings me to, how often do you talk to your core audience? How often are you meeting your audience where they are? I have a sister. That sounded funny. I have a sister. My sister, she owns a meditation studio in Florence, South Carolina. And she just started her business on August 1st. I remember because it's the first day I got my apartment. And she starts this business and she realizes that I want to cater this towards Black women, but I'm in Florence, South Carolina. This might be a little harder than I think. And she had to go outside of her comfort zone and talk to people in the community. And not just Black women, but just people in general, to build that audience. Because of course she wanted to be a yogi. She did all the work to do that. But now how are you going to get people to stay in touch with you, to trust you, to go along with your brand? You have to do the work and talk to your core audience. And is your audience a representation of your core values? I think that's a great question to ask for yourself, because I realized I had to start over on social media because I came from a very music background. Like, I was in the music industry. I worked in radio for a number of years and just heavy in music. And as I started to change and grow and post, people would be like, I don't know about this mental health thing. Oh, what you going through? You sound a little crazy, man. You sounded, I don't know why my audience sounds like they're from the 1970s, but that's what we're going with right now. You sound a little crazy, man. I don't know. What's going on with this mental health stuff? And it was a reflection of me growing. So if I'm growing, that means my audience has to grow too. Is my audience a representation of my brand? The next thing, super important for me specifically, was to be intentional with my words. I had a hard time verbalizing what I wanted to do because, again, before it made it out my spirit, before that light could grow, I blew it out. I sidestepped every time from my original purpose. And that's this. That's to merge lightheartedness, mental health, and entrepreneurship together and to speak to people. But I ran away from it for so long because I didn't know how it would fit. I was scared because this thing didn't feel real and I couldn't verbalize it. So I wasn't being intentional with my words. I was beating around the bush when I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I knew exactly what I needed to do, but I let again, it comes back full circle. I let that circle of people, or I let people in general push me into a box that I knew I wasn't really comfortable in. Or not that I wasn't comfortable, that I had outgrown. I was afraid of disappointing people and everything that I built, to let it crumble and start over. Does that make sense? Yes, that's life. And so after that, I started being intentional with my brand and started being intentional with my words. I can't see the chat, but how many of us have a career journal? How many of us have a journal in general where we jot down notes, have ideas, brainstorms, things that we want to accomplish? Like I say, if you don't have one and you're looking to advance in this creative space, or just in life in general, keep a career journal. Not only to jot down the amazing experience and the growth that you will see, because that's freaky as well. Like seeing your notes from 2015 to 2020, I'm a totally different person. But it also keeps you aligned and accountable when nobody else will. When you have nobody in your corner to keep you accountable, your notes, your dreams, and your aspirations will keep you in check. This is my dream journal. This is a journal that I've manifested the kind of money I wanted to make, the apartment space that I wanted to have, the eating habits that I wanted to take on. It helped me stay accountable of who I was because I saw who I was. I saw through my notes how I was living. And through my notes, I wanted out of that situation. This keeps you accountable. If nobody else will, your own words. It's the most sobering thing.
Jameer, I just want to pause you for a moment. Jimmy wants to ask a question.
Absolutely. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, so first of all, thank you so much for everything you said.
Of course, man.
Really resonated with me, especially as a first-year student. I was just wondering,
Congrats.
You mentioned how important it is to be intentional with the words we use and how we carry ourselves.
Yeah.
However, sometimes it seems that confidence, comes off as arrogance. And I was just wondering, how can we prevent that situation when we're just trying to talk about what we do and what we love and what we're just passionate about. I was just, this kind of like tension between the two. So.
And Jimmy, I think that's a great question, because there is a very fine line, right? We see people who, brag, or what we say, they'll post on social media and they'll be like, oh, just got $1 million from my business that I started 2 weeks ago. Light flex, hashtag work hard, play hard, like, and the muscle emoji or whatever they post. That's obnoxious to me, especially in the time that we're in now, where we realize how divisive social media can be and how triggering it can be for other people and their journey as well. So what I will say is that write your captions on social media, if that's what we're talking about. Like, let's just say, we'll use that example. Write your captions from the heart and not from the flex. I'll say it again. Write your accomplishments from the heart and not from the flex. You know what's obnoxious to you, Jimmy. You know what you hate seeing, and like, you're a first-year student at Yale. It's a lot first of all, it's a lot to be proud of. It's a lot to flex, it's a great accomplishment. But there are a lot of people in this world who don't have the opportunities and weren't afforded the opportunities of you. And not saying that we have to dim our own light to please others, but be intentional about what you post and how you carry your brand. I think I put underneath Keep a Career Journal, transparency. I would, aside from, for an example, aside from, hey, I'm Jimmy and I'm going to Yale, flex on them, hashtag 2020 still my year, I would say, or I would write a little bit about my journey to get there. Because ultimately, the story is what people resonate towards, and it's the most passionate thing that you can write. You don't have to flex. You are the flex. You're the flex. You, as Jimmy Carter, great name, by the way, the presidential name. You, as Jimmy Carter, are the nucleus to your success. The flex comes in the work that you do. You don't have to post an obnoxious flexing kind of post, because you're doing the work. Let the work speak for itself. And that way the captions flow freely. For the people online who don't know what flexing is, it means bragging in a grandiose way. I just want to throw that out there just in case we had some people who didn't know what flexing was. But Jimmy, I sincerely hope I was able to answer your question. It really lies within sincerity. And if your brand integrity is in sincerity, then you can start carrying out more of those natural conversations. Let them know about the journey, because that's what's going to keep them coming back. And then you'll realize what your comments will go from. It'll go from fire emojis to, you know what, your conversation was really inspiring. I love the fact that you posted that. Thank you. Could I actually follow up with more questions for you? Once you start changing the way you speak, the power of your words, that's when you'll start seeing a different response. People will start taking you more seriously. I guarantee it.
Thanks.
So I hope that helped.
Thanks for answering that, Jameer. Two things. One, I have another question for you, but two, just want to be mindful of time. We have 7 minutes.
Yes.
So the question, this might tie into your next piece, but how would you suggest folks establish or develop confidence if the market they're trying to enter seems oversaturated?
Yes.
Too many people in what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I mean, and that's a great question. And I found myself in the same place. But again, we have this internal blueprint that we do, and you might not think about it now, but it's more unique than what anybody else does. You do something that's unique to you that nobody else does. And you have the greatest tool at your disposal. And I know a lot of people would jump to say that that's the internet, but it's not. It's your mind. Your mind separates you from any phone, database, television, computer, anything. It separates you. You go in an oversaturated market, change the market. And that might be easier said than done, right? But you need to find out what specifically you want to do. I noticed that a lot of people put themselves in an oversaturated market unbeknownst to them on purpose. Because you see somebody succeeds that kind of does the same thing that you do. I used to shrink myself in the presence of people like Terrence J, who is a media personality and who I followed for a number of years. Or when I would see Eddie Murphy on television, I would go, oh man, like I could never do that. And you're right, I can never be Eddie Murphy. I can never be an 18-year-old sensation who has over a 40-year career in show business, who has been more famous, who has been alive famous than he's been alive poor and impoverished. I can't put myself in his shoes. He's a great blueprint, but he's not my blueprint. Follow your internal blueprint. You put yourself in an oversaturated market for what? To change the market. There's something about you that you haven't tapped into yet that makes you unique than anybody else. And once you find that, the oversaturation won't matter because you march to the beat of your own drum. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Okay? You march to the beat of your own drum. Nobody can take that away from you. And so if you feel like you're shrinking yourself because you're in an oversaturated market, take the time, give yourself grace, figure it out when it comes to jotting down, having those self-talks with yourself. Like, honestly, do I want to be in music my whole life? No. Do you really care about this? No. You'll be shocked of how quickly you answer your own questions. It leads you to the right path of the internal blueprint. I hope I answered your question.
You did, thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, got a last slide. We just going to, okay. So this activity is like name a brand you support because of how transparent they've been. Now, I'll just say this real quick. I don't know who at leadership is, on my side or not, but I really like the take that Nike has done over these last few months when it comes to supporting athletes of color. I love that. It doesn't matter if the business acumen is inside. We don't care about Black people protesting or anything like that. They're showing it. They're letting the work speak for themselves. I don't care about the internal politics. I don't care what they have going on. What they're presenting is they're saying to their consumers that we stand with you at this point in time. They've realized that being a smart business is being on the right side of history at this point in time. And so they give the voice to the voiceless. So they encourage people like, you know what? These are great sneakers. And I know that they're supporting whomever. So that was one brand that I could identify where I would appreciate in times where a lot of companies had their back against the wall, they could be as transparent. Okay, so the last thing, and we'll make this quick, is releasing fear. I've talked about this time and time again here in this about self-confidence, and a lot of it is fear. And what we see are the harsh realities. Here's the harsh realities of it all, y'all. You will fall. You don't have to fail, but you will fall. And I don't know who made this reality of, failing or falling is, you can't do it because you have to be perfect. That's BS. Think of yourself as a baby. If you're creative, you're a baby. You wake up every day crying, needs attention, just messing around with stuff, trying to get your way around the world, trying to just put things together in your mind that makes sense. Even babies start off crawling. And before they crawl, they do this. I don't know what baby, they do that thing, the weird thing. But they're trying to get up to the point where they can walk. Think of yourself like that. You're gonna fall many times. It's inevitable. And people who tell you to be perfect or try to be perfect, and I know Zoe said she was a perfectionist, it doesn't exist. That mirror does not exist. You will fall. And another thing, the last thing is adversity is only a roadblock. How many of us have seen a roadblock in the road, have drove to it, have seen the roadblock, stopped and said, well, I guess I can't make work. I got to go home. It's a roadblock. Nobody ever does that. You know what you do? You say, well, 3rd Avenue is closed. If I got to be to work in 9 minutes, I better take 2nd Avenue. You figure out a way. You pivot. You listen to your GPS, who's your inner circle, or just yourself because you know the route. You know the route. The roadblock is only there for you to navigate around it. And when you think of failure, or you think of, I didn't sell as much this month, or, my subscribers are low this month, or, nobody liked my post and I was really passionate about it and I put out this content, I spent days on. Okay. Yes, you met adversity. How do you pivot around it? If that roadblock stops you from going to work, you know what happens? You get fired. So why would you let a roadblock stop yourself? As entrepreneurs, there is nobody waking you up. You wake yourself up. You got to get to it. You have to motivate yourself to be the best you that you can be. The main thing that you need to do first is realize that failure is an option. People make it all the time. I hate that failure is not an option. It is. People choose to fail. They see a roadblock and go, I can't go to this party. There's a roadblock. Back up and take 2nd Avenue. That's what you got to do for yourself and your dreams and your aspirations. The last thing I'll get to, and this is the last activity, is much like the first activity, I want everybody to close their eyes. And I want everybody to take a deep breath, inhale and exhale. And I want people to visualize that business that they're starting. I want people to visualize that thing that they want to do, that internal blueprint, that thing that keeps us alive. Even when our job or people drain us, it's that thing deep down in our spirit that we know we want to do, but we can't. Now I want you to visualize a mirror. And I want you to look into that mirror and ask yourself, what's the fear that I see when I look in that mirror? What's the fear? What's the roadblock? I'll be honest. When I looked in that mirror, when I was doing this exercise, I saw myself. I was the biggest roadblock for me being the best entrepreneur and creative I could be. It was me. I was letting myself be a slave to an idea. And if it wasn't perfect, I wouldn't execute. My idea of success relied on a company brand instead of myself. If that wasn't executed perfectly, I wasn't proud of myself. When I looked in the mirror, I saw myself holding a yield sign, blocking the road to success. I know I'm not the only one who believes that. You can say it in the chat. I can't see it anyway. But sometimes we need to get out of our own way in order for us to be successful, to be great, or to feel. We need to remove ourselves to feel so we can get to the next point, so we can get to point B. So strip yourself away from your fears. And I understand it's easier said than done. It takes a lot of self-work. It takes a lot of analyzing, and it takes a lot of understanding that you are a baby with wobbly legs because you're just starting to get the hang of life. All right? So when you do this, that does not mean that you won't walk one day, because you will. Keep that fire right here. And my friends, we have come to the end of this program. Wow. feels good. Feels good to be here. I know we're a little over time. I want to just real quick go to our 4 people. If we have time, if we don't have time for that to talk about accountability, it's okay. Connect with each other, please. Do we have time? Can we just go real quick? Let's go.
I'm good to go. Folks are staying on.
Okay. Well, I see Dahlia. I saw Dahlia before I saw JoJo. So we'll go with Dahlia first, and then we'll go with JoJo's team next. So Dahlia, you and your partner.
Yeah, hi. So I paired up with Meg. I just shared with her that I want to start my own business in the coming years, and I'm exploring that option. Right now, I am in my first year at the School of Management, so pursuing my MBA.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was really interested in this session just because I think it's really important to consider non-traditional ways to pursue entrepreneurship. It can be really easy to kind of perceive it in one light and think that you have to do it in a certain way, and that can kind of be an inhibitor, just like you were just mentioning. So this has been really, really fruitful. Thank
you.
I'm going to read my text because I wasn't looking at my phone during the session.
Okay, it's okay.
Meg did reply. She said she's also exploring options to start her own business. She didn't see it as a pathway for herself growing up, but she's been feeling really driven toward it for the past year or so. She works, this is cool. She works in the climate and energy sector. So she wants to run her own small consulting firm, but also as a creative, and wants to have a custom cake business, which is interesting because I also like baking.
Really? Okay.
This was a good pair.
Look at the connections working. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's also even when people don't have a lot in common, it's really great to get to connect, just because when you feel their passion, it motivates you to improve the world in your own way. So very cool.
And that's honestly the point of accountability partners. You know, they help inspire you when you don't have it or you don't see it. And that keeps both iron sharpens iron. So I'm glad you found that. And I hope, you know, in a week, you know, there's some kind of forward progress with you both. Even if it's that, don't think of it as you have to start a business in a week. Small steps, baby steps.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you for this session.
No problem.
Pass it over
to
Rita.
My pleasure. Okay. Rita. Yes. Rita and JoJo. How are we? Good. We okay? We present? Rita, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it was a really big challenge to talk with each other while still trying to multitask and listen to you.
Yes, yeah. I offered the breakout room. I did.
No, I know, but we would be very sad to also miss what you were saying.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And so it was just a challenge. We started to like share a little bit about ourselves and the goals and where we are coming from. We didn't get to the point to share something to be accountable for, but we learned about what each of us wanted to start doing, and he's up for a really cool project.
Okay, great. Look, and you know, sometimes the universe works like that. We don't get to where we intended to go. Give yourself grace. Like what you did already, just learning a new fact about somebody. You might have checked your internal goal clock off just one notch. You don't know. What he told you could have inspired or planted a seed somewhere in your mind for later reference. Think of every interaction like that. What can I, you know, what's the best of this situation? So I thank you just for participating and listen and multitasking. I appreciate it. That is really it. You can follow me on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Jameer Pond, and JameerPond.com is almost up and running. So you can subscribe to the mailing list where I'll be doing more conversations like this around the country at different schools and platforms, just motivating people to live their best life. And I hope that you walked away with something. Could be something good, could be something bad, but you walked away with something.
Thank you so much, Jameer. As I mentioned in our meeting, this is a conversation that needed to happen. So I'm so happy that you were able to deliver it. I think folks walked away with things, not just for entrepreneurship, but for their life as well.
Yes.
I love that. Before closing out, does anyone have any last questions for Jameer?
Yes, please, feel free, yes.
Feel free to raise your hand or put them in the chat. Jameer, one thing I wanted to just ask you, and I know the answer, but for folks who may not, what are some ways that people can engage in like the non-traditional entrepreneurship space within digital media, right? So we talked prior about like influencers and podcasters. What are some opportunities for folks interested in exploring that?
I think it's a renaissance, honestly, for creators in general. This has been the best time specifically from being attached and working with so many brands. So many different brands are looking for people to self-start. I'll be honest with you, brands are not looking to take somebody and build them up, out of nowhere anymore. Like, you have to have it already coming in. You have to be your own man, like A&R in the music business. You have to foster your own self, come with a little bit of a package if you want to get into a creative space. And you're looking for that kind of brand sponsorship. If you just want to do this on your own, I'll be honest with you, I learned a lot from YouTube University. I learned how to edit. I learned how to do lighting. I learned how to do sound. I learned how to do production. I learned how to shoot video and be a director from YouTube. All this from YouTube. Honestly, I learned because I knew that there was a need for it. So I learned about it. I took the time out, and again, I used my brain. I was like, I want to do this. I want to step outside of my comfort zone, and I want to learn. And I put in the hours and the time and everything. But it was that one moment that I needed to switch something on that says, okay, I want to do this. A lot of people are asking me like, well, how do you get how do you have a successful podcast or a successful television show? Like, how can I be a talk show host? It's easy. You put a camera on you, you're a talk show host, right? You can put a camera, you can create a show, you're a talk show host. That's different from having a successful talk show. Again, words mean everything. So if we're not specific on what we want, we'll never get to where we see ourselves getting. So we have to really want it. All the tools are out there. You can do a podcast from your computer and a microphone. You can do a podcast from your phone. Honestly, you do a podcast on Zoom. The tools are there. Do you want it is the question. So that's what I'll say.
I love that answer, especially within this space. Like you said, all the tools are there. You spoke about podcasting. I started my podcast in my living room.
Yes.
Or nothing. So like it's all there. Great point. I want to go to Fabiola, who has a question for you.
Oh, Fabi. Hey.
Hey, Jameer. I have a simple question.
Yeah.
Do you ever think there is such a thing as oversharing, especially if it's something that might ruffle feathers?
Absolutely. I think that that's a good question. I've always done it like this. There'll be some things that I want to comment on or share or post that things might need to be said, but I have to ask myself, am I passionate, or do I know, or do I care enough to share it? Because a lot of people will overshare and know nothing about what they're talking about. Like, people want to overshare their opinions. People want to overshare comments or just to be in the inquiry. I mean, you're on Twitter. You see the stuff that I see. There's a lot of oversharing. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, I don't want or need this. And people tend to do it from a non-genuine place. I say, if you're genuine about what you share, if it's uncomfortable, you don't have to post everything. You control your post. So you can only share as much as you want to share. What I love about you is that you've shared so much of your body positive images. Sorry. I've been talking for a long time. Body positive images in a way that wasn't oversharing. You showed a journey. You showed that you're beautiful in your own skin. And in return, people look at you and go, wow, thank you for sharing that, because maybe that inspired somebody else to be more comfortable in their own skin. So I say, if you're genuine about sharing and it's something that you honestly know and want to talk about, I don't think there's oversharing. I think there's people who pollute what they're sharing with BS. Be politically correct, because we're on Yale. But yes, people share from a non-genuine point of view, and they share it frequently, super frequently, where it can leave a bad taste in your mouth. But if you're sharing with a purpose and you're sharing with a message, I don't think it's oversharing.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna go to Dahlia, who has a question.
Okay. Hey, my friend.
Hey, I'm back. Thanks again for your time. Seriously, I really have appreciated today's session. I think one of the things I kind of struggle with, and I'm sure that a lot of other people do too, just because we're human, is learning how to prioritize the things that you want to get done. I guess when it also comes to wanting to share and feeling like you want to make sure that when you do get a chance to share what you're passionate about with other people, you do it in a way that actually captures their attention positively. Yes. I guess if you could just reflect on how you kind of came to prioritize what you wanted to work on.
Absolutely.
That'd be really great.
Yeah. I think, posting on social media and sharing yourself has become like a rat race, right? It's become like another job. Like, okay, I haven't posted in a week. What am I going to do? Like, what am I going to post? And so many people freak out about that instead of taking a step back and seeing what the content is that we actually want to post. How do we actually want to frame this? I was a person who always posted on a time basis because I knew like I hadn't posted in a week or I hadn't posted in 3 days, and I wanted to keep up constantly and be consistent until I ran out of ideas. I wasn't posting strategically. I was posting just because I was trying to keep up with the rat race. And so a lot of us do that. We're posting just because we want to remain present without posting something that's intentional, something that shows growth, something that's a little more organized. So I personally, and people who follow me can attest, I used to have like 200 posts on my Instagram, and I archived them all because I wanted to start over. And people were like, did you get hacked? Like, what happened? Why'd you take all the stuff off? And I said, I want to be more intentional about what I post. So now I have 3 pictures on my Instagram, but they're organic and they look a certain way according to my strategy that I want to do it. When we look at brands that are successful, I know a lot of people treat their Instagrams, we'll stay on Instagram for a minute. People treat it like a highlight reel, which is cool. It's supposed to show your accomplishments, show your vulnerability, show you. But I learned that the more specific you are, even in what you post and how you post and how frequently you post and the timeline in which you post, once you start, again, analyzing and becoming more specific about your intention, I start to see the growth, so now my pictures, aren't just all kind of crazy shapes and sizes, and the colors aren't, now they're structured color to match up and align a certain way, feel to match up and line a certain way, content to match up and line a certain way. But I needed to step back and realize, okay, I'm doing this all the wrong way. I'm working harder and not smarter. Smarter would be to take time as of right now, if I'm able to start jotting down systems, start ideating, start researching things that I like, how I want to format stuff, even down to the kind of content that I want to produce. People just throw out stuff because they feel like they have to. It's like, well, here's a bikini picture from 2016 because I don't have anything else. I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want my brand and my social media to be representative of who I am at this moment right now. And at this moment, I'm focused, I'm structured, and I have a plan. I'm taking control of what I post instead of letting the rat race dictate what I post. So I hope that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Seriously.
No problem. Any more questions? If not, I want everybody to get to that good old debate. It's going to happen, or must-see TV, as I like to call it. Yeah.
No, I don't see any other questions or raised hands. Again, Jameer, I just want to thank you so much for pouring out so authentically to this audience. I hope everyone was able to take something away from this. Thank you.
So, it's been a tremendous honor and pleasure. Just want to say I appreciate what you do. Thank you for asking me, and thank you for everybody, who came in, who stayed even past 7. This was cathartic, but also I want you all, the 18 participants on here, I want you all to remember that eternal light is not going away unless you dim it, and you don't have to dim it. Even if you're working a job, there's always a way to feed yourself. Never pour out all your cup. Keep some tucked away from you just in case of emergencies, okay? That light, it keeps you up. That light keeps you motivated. That light lets you know what to do with the money that you're making from your job. Don't ignore yourself. It's right there. You just have to tap into it. So hopefully this were instructions that, help people tap in and making themselves the best creators or creatives or entrepreneurs that they can be. People. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Don't forget to complete the feedback form. If you have nothing else for Jameer, we are dismissed.